Have you ever felt a sudden magnetic pull towards someone significantly younger than you? A connection that defies the logic of your calendar age and social circles. It often arrives without warning, manifesting as an immediate sense of recognition or a comfort that feels strangely ancient, even if the person standing before you has lived far fewer years. This is not about a desire to reclaim lost youth, nor is it a random accident of social proximity. It is a profound resonance that speaks a language your logical mind may struggle to translate, leaving you questioning the nature of the bond, and perhaps even judging yourself for it. Please understand that this experience does not signify a midlife crisis, emotional immaturity, or a flight from reality. On the contrary, these connections are often orchestrated by the deepest intelligence of your psyche and your spirit. They involve a complex interplay of mental projection, emotional healing, energetic balancing, and soul-level recognition that is both natural and deeply human. It is a meeting of timelines where the chronological numbers fade, leaving only the raw frequency of two human beings who have something vital to exchange. There is a silent, subterranean layer to this phenomenon, a hidden architecture of the heart that we rarely discuss openly. It is not merely about friendship or romance, it is about the evolution of consciousness. Over the course of this journey, we will explore 10 profound revelations that unveil why life has brought this person into your orbit. We will decode the signals of this unique bond, allowing you to understand this process with emotional clarity, psychological insight, and spiritual elegance, transforming confusion into a deep appreciation for the mysterious weaving of your destiny. The mirror of the unlived self. This connection often begins not with who they are, but with a reflection of who you once were, or perhaps who you were not allowed to be. In the psychology of the deep subconscious, we often bury parts of our personality that were rejected, shamed, or simply uncultivated during our own developmental years. When you encounter this younger individual, they may embody the very traits, freedom, artistic expression, boldness, or vulnerability that you were forced to suppress to survive your own coming of age. This is not mere jealousy, it is a resonance of potential. Your soul is recognizing a fragment of its own wholeness living vividly in another. The intensity you feel is the energy of your own unlived life calling out to you, asking to be integrated rather than observed from a distance. It is a psychological retrieval process where the other person acts as a catalyst, unlocking doors in your psyche that have been rusted shut for decades. You are not just looking at them, you are looking at a version of yourself that is asking for a second chance to breathe. Imagine walking through an old, familiar house and suddenly discovering a room you forgot existed, flooded with sunlight and untouched by time. That is what their presence feels like to your spirit. What part of your own history is asking to be rewritten or reclaimed through this unexpected bond? The healing of timeline trauma. Life often operates in circles rather than straight lines. And sometimes, the universe sends us a person who is currently standing at the exact age or life stage where we once experienced our deepest wounds. This is not a coincidence. It is a therapeutic opportunity arranged by the intelligence of your subconscious. By witnessing this younger person navigate a struggle, a heartbreak, or a challenge that mirrors your own past, you are given a rare chance to offer the compassion, guidance, and presence that you did not receive when you were their age. It is a retroactive healing, a way of soothing your own inner child by caring for its reflection in the external world. Consider a moment where someone finds themselves mentoring a younger colleague who is paralyzed by the fear of failure, the same paralyzing fear that once defined their own 20s. In listening to this younger person's anxieties, they are not just offering advice to a separate individual, they are speaking directly to the frightened version of themselves that still lives in their memory. By validating the younger person's feelings, they effectively validate their own past pain, rewriting the internal narrative from one of isolation to one of connection. This dynamic turns the relationship into a temporal bridge, allowing love to flow backward in time to heal the wounds that have been silently carried for too long. Vibrational calibration and vitality. We must acknowledge that energy is a tangible currency in human interaction, and the vibrational signature of youth is distinct from the frequency of maturity. There is often a raw, unfiltered vitality in someone younger, a specific kind of kinetic energy that has not yet been dampened by the inevitable cynicism or fatigue that can accumulate over decades of responsibility. When life brings you closer to them, it is often because your own energetic field is requesting a recalibration. You may have become too calcified in your routines, too heavy with the weight of knowing better, and their presence acts as a high-frequency infusion that disrupts your stagnation. This is not about being an energy vampire or feeding off their youth. Rather, it is a symbiotic loop of regulation. While you offer the grounding stability of earth, they offer the swift movement of air. Your nervous system, perhaps accustomed to a chronic state of low-level stress or resignation, begins to entrain to their optimism and their belief in the possible. It is a biological and spiritual necessity to occasionally expose our minds to this frequency to prevent the hardening of the spirit. Think of this connection like a stagnant pond suddenly being fed by a rushing mountain stream. The water is churned, oxygenated, and brought back to life, clearing away the algae of old regrets. The dissolution of rigid scripts. Society hands us scripts that dictate who we should associate with, suggesting that we should stay within our generational silos to maintain order and propriety. However, the soul is inherently rebellious against boundaries that limit growth. A connection with someone younger challenges your rigid mental constructs and the societal programming that defines what is appropriate or relatable. This friction is necessary. It forces you to confront the internalized ageism and the self-limiting beliefs that tell you your world must shrink as you get older. This person is a living testament that your world is meant to expand, not contract. Psychologically, this forces your brain to engage in neuroplasticity, adapting to new slangs, new perspectives, and new ways of navigating the modern world. Spiritually, it breaks the illusion of separation. When you find deep commonality with someone from a different era, you prove to yourself that the core of the human experience, fear, love, hope, desire, is universal and timeless. You are dismantling the walls of the ego that likes to categorize and separate people to feel safe. Their presence is like water slowly eroding the stone of your stubborn perceptions, smoothing out the rough edges of your judgment until you are left with a mind that is open, fluid, and capable of seeing the human being beneath the label of a number. The inversion of the teacher archetype. It is easy to assume that in a dynamic with a significant age gap, the older individual is the teacher and the younger is the student. However, the universe often flips this archetype to ensure your continued spiritual evolution. While you may possess the wisdom of experience, logistics, and history, they often possess the wisdom of intuition, emotional transparency, and adaptability. They teach you how to feel again without the armor of defense mechanisms you have spent years perfecting. They teach you that your experienced way of doing things might actually be an outdated way of protecting yourself from vulnerability. This inversion can be confronting for the ego, which likes to feel superior or in control due to seniority. But true spiritual growth requires the humility to sit at the feet of someone who has walked fewer miles than you, recognizing that they may see the path more clearly because their eyes are not clouded by the dust of the past. They remind you that wisdom is not just about the accumulation of years, but about the clarity of presence. You are being asked to surrender the heavy mantle of the expert and recover the curiosity of the beginner. Are you humble enough to learn from someone who hasn't walked as far as you, but who walks with a lightness you have forgotten? Awakening the dormant, playful spirit. Over time, the responsibilities of adulthood can bury the archetype of the divine child that lives within us all. We become serious, efficient, and focused on outcomes, often viewing play as a waste of time or a luxury we cannot afford. A younger companion often vibrates naturally in the frequency of spontaneity and exploration. They do not just invite you to have fun. They trigger a profound psychological release of the joy that has been sequestered behind walls of duty. This connection is a permission slip from the universe to put down the heavy burden of being the responsible one for a moment and simply exist in the delight of the now. This is deeply healing for the nervous system, shifting you from a state of constant survival and planning into a state of flow and being. It is not about acting childish. It is about recovering the childlike capacity for wonder. When you laugh with them, the vibration of that laughter breaks up the dense energy of stress that has stored itself in your cellular memory. It is a spiritual retrieval of your capacity for delight. Think of their influence as a gentle hand brushing decades of dust off a beautiful stained glass window in your soul, allowing the light to stream through in colors you haven't seen in years. A karmic appointment for guidance. While you are learning from them, it is also undeniable that you have been placed in their path to serve as a lighthouse during their own stormy season. There is a destiny aspect to this bond, a sense of a karmic appointment where your life experiences serve as the exact map they need to navigate their current terrain. You hold keys, perspectives, patience, and survival strategies that can unlock their potential or save them from unnecessary suffering. This is not about preaching or controlling their choices, but about offering the stability of your presence as a reference point in their chaotic world. This role satisfies a deep psychological need for generativity, the desire to leave a legacy of wisdom and care that outlasts our own immediate needs. It transforms your past pain into purpose. The struggles you endured years ago, which seemed senseless at the time, suddenly find their meaning because they allow you to empathize with and guide this person today. The universe is efficient. It wastes nothing. Your scars become their survival guide. It is like a ship lost in the fog suddenly spotting a light on the shore. You do not need to board their ship to save them. You simply need to stand tall and shine your light exactly where you are. The disruption of comfort zones. We naturally seek homeostasis and comfort, often creating bubbles of safety that eventually turn into cages of stagnation. A younger energy entering your life is often a disruption sent to shatter these comfortable cages. They may challenge your political views, your taste in art, your technological habits, or your definitions of relationships. This friction, while sometimes irritating or baffling, is the grit that polishes the diamond of your soul. Without this disruption, you might risk becoming obsolete in your own lifetime, disconnected from the evolving pulse of the collective consciousness. This connection forces you to stretch. It demands that you articulate your values clearly rather than just assuming they are the default truth. It invites you to look at the world through a lens that is not colored by the specific decade you grew up in. This is the mechanism of growth. The muscle of the soul only strengthens when it is placed under the tension of a new perspective. They are the sudden storm that clears the humid, heavy air of your routine, leaving the atmosphere crisp, charged, and full of new possibilities for how you might engage with the remaining years of your life. Connection beyond linear time. At the level of the soul, time is not linear, and age is merely a costume we wear for this specific incarnation. When you feel a profound, inexplicable familiarity with someone younger, it is often a sign of a soul tie that predates your current biological ages. You are recognizing a member of your soul family, a consciousness with whom you have danced before in other realms or lifetimes. The depth of the bond feels disproportionate to the time you have known them, because, in the spiritual sense, you have known them for eons. The age gap is just a temporary illusion of this specific chapter. This recognition bypasses the analytical mind, which tries to categorize the relationship based on birth years. It speaks directly to the heart's intelligence. You feel safe with them because your spirit remembers their frequency. This bond is a testament to the fact that love and connection obey the laws of energy, not the laws of the clock. It serves to remind you that you are an eternal being having a human experience, and that your companions on this journey can arrive in any form, at any time. Imagine two travelers meeting at a crossroads, holding different maps, but recognizing the same destination in each other's eyes. The years between them are irrelevant compared to the road they are walking together. The invitation to radical presence. Finally, the younger generation often carries a specific code of nowness. While maturity often lives in the past, memory, or the future, planning, youth is frequently forced to live in the immediate moment due to the intensity of their developmental phase. By drawing you into their world, they are issuing a spiritual invitation to return to the present moment. They pull you out of your retrospective reverie and force you to engage with life as it is happening right now, with all its messiness, speed, and vibrancy. They demand your attention, and in doing so, they anchor you in the only time that truly exists. This is a form of mindfulness in motion. To relate to them deeply, you must drop your baggage of how things used to be and meet them in how things are. It is a cleansing of the perception, washing away the filters of nostalgia that often cloud the vision of older generations. They remind you that life is not something that happened 20 years ago. It is something that is unfolding in this very breath. Their presence acts like an anchor being lifted from the seabed of your history, allowing your ship to drift freely and engage with the currents of the actual, living ocean of the present. If you find yourself navigating a connection with someone younger, release the need to label it, justify it, or dissect it with the scalpel of societal logic. You are not weak for feeling this resonance, nor are you misguided. You are a sensitive, intuitive being who is responding to a call for growth, healing, and expansion. This person has not arrived in your life by accident. They are a mirror, a teacher, and a fellow traveler sent to dust off the parts of your soul that have been sleeping. The intensity you feel is simply the friction of your own evolution taking place, a sign that your heart is still wide open and willing to learn. Your task now is to navigate this with wisdom and non-attachment. Release with consciousness. Release with consciousness. Do not try to possess their youth or control their journey. Instead, observe with wisdom what they trigger within you. Are they igniting a creative spark? Are they healing an old wound? Are they asking you to step into your power as a mentor? Allow the relationship to breathe. Take the lessons, enjoy the vitality, and let the energy flow through you without clinging to it. Acknowledge that the soul has no age and love has no calendar. The universe weaves us together in tapestries that our logical minds cannot comprehend, but which our hearts can always feel. Trust the purpose of this meeting. It is a gift of renewal. If this message resonated with the deeper chapters of your life, I invite you to continue exploring the truths of the mind and spirit with me. Subscribe to the channel and perhaps share this video with someone who might be silently questioning the beautiful, mysterious connections in their own life. Let us walk this path of understanding together.